Another example of two-tier policing in London. A conservative-leaning journalist and reporter was attacked by left-wing activists and Islamists. But somehow, in the middle of all this, the Metropolitan Police threatened to arrest the reporter, which makes no sense. Welcome to 2C TV, your global news channel. I'm Maya 2C and this is your latest news update, this time from Britannia. Obviously, we have two-tier system. We already know that, but it's important to give you guys every single example when it happens. So, a new media conservative reporter, by the way, if you're watching from abroad, conservative doesn't mean a member of the Conservative Party. Conservative as in traditional values. Small c conservative, not Tory. A conservative-leaning new media journalist, as some of you are familiar with her, Jess Gill. A good friend of 2C TV, but also she does go on other channels, including GB News as a commentator. She also does, obviously, YouTube work as well. She and her team decided to go to a protest to speak to the Palestinian supporters, left-wing activists or whatever they were. And one thing that is the whole point of what we do is that the mainstream media don't really show you the true side of these sort of things, these sort of gatherings. New media journalists and reporters go to ask questions. Now, you don't have to answer the questions. Free society. We are allowed to ask the questions, you're allowed to ignore the questions. What you're not supposed to be doing is to harass the journalist for asking questions or for complaining about it, saying the presence of this journalist is intimidating, is offensive, and it's provoking me to attack her. So let's go to the video. The whole point of this was that nobody forced them to speak to them. The police comes and speaks to Jess Gill and her friend and say, well, why do you have to ask some questions? Like, just don't ask them. It's like that. No, these are not the people who were asking questions. We were interviewing. We were trying to interview the others. These bullies kept coming, harassing us, and started pushing them, which is physically attacking, bumping into them, pushing them around. Imagine if the other side does it. Let's go and see what happened, and then the conversation between Jess and the Metropolitan Police as well. Let's go.
They are literally harassing you.
Hello!
Please.
Do your job, you lazy bastard.
They're literally... Excuse me, sir, they're literally harassing and intimidating us. Can you do something about it, please? It's making me feel really uncomfortable. Thank you. We're just trying to interview people here. They're harassing and intimidating us. I feel really uncomfortable and unsafe.
So if you're uncomfortable and safe, you can leave.
Well, I think it's important that people see alternate sides and we have freedom of speech.
I had one man place his hand on me, which is...
They're literally intimidating us. They're literally bumping into us.
So if people are saying they don't want to speak to you, what are you doing after that?
Well,
We're not, the thing is...
People do want to speak to us. People have
If
been
someone
speaking to us.
says they don't want to,
Well, we're not speaking to them. We're not speaking to them. We're speaking to the protesters who do want to speak to us, and they're getting in the way.
who is they?
Those ones over there, the ones in the high-vis
They
jackets.
put us in the corner, just then,
So they...
and threatened us to leave.
How many people have you spoken to today here?
Well, we're trying to get two, and every time we do, they run into us.
So how about a suggestion is, you stand and wait for people to come to you.
Well, no one come to us then. They're all in here.
That's their choice, isn't it?
I'm sorry, but why are they allowed to harass and intimidate us? This is ridiculous. Yeah, they're bumping into us, they're pushing us. How's that fair?
That's battery. Under law, that is battery.
Why are you taking their side?
Am I taking anyone's
It does seem like it.
So they've already approached us.
We're literally... What are we doing wrong?
So they've spoken to us and said that they don't want you present as they believe you're present.
Is this their private property?
I haven't finished talking. If you're going to talk over me,
I'm just
then
saying,
we can't
it's
have a conversation,
ridiculous.
can we? I know you're recording, so at least do me the
I
courtesy
am
of letting me
recording,
speak.
just in case anything
So
happens.
they have said that they don't want you in this group as they believe you're from a far-right channel or a
Which we're
right-wing
not.
channel. Now, I don't know that, only you know that, but that's the perception that they have formed. Is there a reason they may have formed that perception?
Well, we are right wing, but what's wrong with that?
So, what are you here as today?
We're here to interview people. We've asked polite and respectful questions. We've not done anything provocative. I'm literally asking people why are they at the protest, why do they have their views. We're giving them their point of view, and that's all we want to do. Isn't the point of...
This is infuriating on so many levels. Let's get into this. So the police, at best, are acting like idiots, right? Like, oh, who is harassing you? And then like they explain who. And then they go back to the conversation saying, who is they? What do you mean, who is they? You know who. You saw them. Second point. Stand here, wait for them to come to you. That's not how reporting works, you idiots at the police. Third problem. The police implied that, well, what if they thought you were a far-right channel? Implied that they are justified because they thought you were a far-right channel. If even you are a far-left or far-right channel, that does not justify physical violence or anything like that, or harassing. It's just an ideology. There are different ideologies. You got a number of far-right ideologies, you got a number of far-left ideologies, you got centrists, liberals, you got this, you got that. That doesn't mean if they think you are far left or far right, you're supposed to be doing something else, but punch them or something. Third and fourthly, the fourth point is the fact that she basically didn't understand anything. The police officer basically went around. I think she might actually just be an idiot, genuinely, because I don't think they're acting. They can't be acting. Now, Jess did a follow-up explaining, I believe. Let's go to that video.
We were literally harassed at the Counter Tommy Robinson
Man
protest.
literally put his hand on us both.
Yeah, pushed us, these 6-foot men, and the police turned a blind eye and threw us off the property. Put signs in our faces. They were super hostile. It was, you couldn't make it up. We're obviously just two young girls, 2 young women. We weren't asking anything hostile, we were asking...
I was wearing this badge, you know. my Stop Fascism badge. I was one of them.
So true, so true. But no, they weren't having it. We weren't asking anything controversial. We were supposedly the problem, asking questions.
They told us the police would arrest us if we didn't leave. And mind you, the police saw that men were putting their hands on us.
They turned a blind eye. They called us far right. The police called us far right.
One of the police officers was friends with a couple of people at the protest.
Well, it looks like it.
He was saying, hey, how are you doing? I've not seen you for a while, which goes to show there was a friendship between him and the protesters. And they told us that we are a far-right organisation.
How are we the
far-right.
problem?
So we don't deserve to be at a left-wing protest. We don't deserve to be asking...
They were literally
questions
hurling
or
abuse at
being
us.
there.
The protesters were hurling abuse at us in front of the police.
None of this makes sense. I mean, the level of IQ for the police. I wonder what you guys are thinking about this. Ivan's back. Thank you for your super chat, Ivan, saying biased police totally let that poor girl down. I hope they are proud of themselves that she was being a real journalist and she was being lovely. For those who know Jess, she's nice. She's not provocative. Also, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being provocative. It's a free society. Well, it's supposed to be a free society, but apparently it's not. Linda says it makes sense. They do not want the truth to get out to anyone. May God help you all. Fight on. Brits are great fighters. Well, Jess is. She's a good fighter, but I don't know about it. The rest of us. Jason says, stop beating around the bush. It's war they want. They want England, and our governments are helping. I don't beat around the bush. That's literally what I say every single day, Jason, on this channel. Yeah, we know what they want, and the establishment seem to be helping them anyway. Right, there's another super chat. Jenny, would they get away with this if it were BBC or Sky? No, because the police would be protecting the BBC or Sky. That's the whole point. There's the different tiers of policing that you have. Also depends on, firstly, who they're trying to defend and who they're trying to prosecute. So that's the whole point. If it's one of them, like BBC guys, there will be absolutely, they'll create a buffer zone and there will be a referee. So, okay, would you like to interview this person? Well, okay, just stop attacking the BBC reporters, please. But it doesn't really work. That's why, I mean, the police officer accidentally basically leaked her mentality, saying, well, if they thought you were a far-right channel, basically implied that they're justified to kick off if they think you are a far-right channel. What? Free speech, debate. You're not supposed to be pushing people around, physically touching the journalists, Jess and her friend. And these are the people who play the victim card every single time. I mean, the presence of Jess or myself when I'm in these places, or other people, Niak, Mr. Banana Man, our presence is offensive anyway. Our presence is violence. They cry, they have meltdowns, they're always the victims. But they do this and they're like, they want us to just say, yeah, we surrender. People like Jess are not going to surrender. She's going to continue her work. You're just energizing her to do it more. Idiots. Anna says, I like it. She stood her ground. Absolutely. Well done, Just Gill. Dave Morley says, incompetence at the highest level. IQs of a peanut. True. I mean, it does require an IQ of a peanut to be recruited into the police force now. Or as they say, police service. Because you can't say police force. That's offensive. It's politically incorrect now to say police force. I would never get used to saying police service. It's police force. Calm down, dear. I mean, the fact that literally they changed the labeling of the actual police explains why they're recruiting a different types of mentalities as police officers. It's not the right type of people anymore. It's not. And it goes beyond DEI. It's not just DEI, the diversity nonsense. It's just the level of mentality that they're recruiting. It's so embarrassing what's going on in the UK, specifically the UK, when we talk about policing. Because we could talk about the political establishments in France, UK, Germany. But when it comes to policing, there's a very specific problem in England that you don't actually have much of it in France or Germany, even in Sweden. We're on a whole new level of chaos. Now, Philip Ashley says, funny how all the violence and threats of violence are only coming from the left. How is it that this Labour government can't see what's before their eyes? Because they would not classify this as being aggressive or being violent. They don't. These are the people who grew up thinking if you see someone who's accused of being far right or national socialist or fascist, you'll be allowed to punch them. I mean, what? I mean, this is the slightly more civilized world's version of when Palestinian kids go to school in Gaza and they are taught from early days to hate the Jews. From early days, they are taught to basically aim to destroy them. That's slightly more barbaric side of the world. This is slightly a more civilized version of it in the West. So instead of teaching all these left-wing kids to go and kill the right-wingers, they basically say you have to hate them. Yeah, you should be able to punch them, for example. It's just complete brainwashing. It's been going on for decades. Hi, Princess says police fast, more like, yeah, it's not even a force anymore. Oh, look their Labour. Labour has sent us another hit present, and it smells really good. It even scares the bull out of the full china shop. And Ivan says, we don't have the police, just government security guards. Yeah. Cynthia says the Met Police do know you are a global channel, right? Yeah. Well, that's why every time I go to one of these things in Central London, they always say, Tuesday's here, Tuesday's here. They panic. My presence is very scary. Attitude and negligence. Negligent behavior in protecting new media reporters is being seen worldwide. They are looking very bad from here. Yeah, and as I said earlier, a big thanks to Elon Musk for sharing our footage from yesterday's rally. When someone like Elon posted on X, millions of people see it. And, you know, obviously we still have a big platform on YouTube and elsewhere. So all of us, not just CCTV, but others who have a big following, when we post these things, you would think that the political establishment and the authorities, the police and all these guys would say, okay, our actions are being exposed, what we do, maybe it's probably best to stop behaving, right? Probably. No. Absolutely unhinged behavior from the police. But there's also a level of arrogance. I've said this many times. Because obviously I lived in Westminster until a few months ago. And when I used to go to Westminster to just have a drink outside Parliament, meeting political advisors, civil servants from both sides, the Labour side, the Conservative side, and of course some police officers as friends and friends of friends, the level of arrogance that they have, that they are so self-righteous because they go to work every day, for example, in some sort of random government department, they are now not just the experts in that industry, but they are wise. They are like Yoda of the UK when it comes to anything really, policing, transport, whatever. They don't want to hear your opinions. It's the same in the US with the Biden administration, where they genuinely didn't want to hear from normal people in America. And actually, the same thing happened with Obama, where when Barack Obama was going around promising to empower the urban areas, the black community, people in poverty in general, and he actually made things worse. And when those people from the same urban areas were complaining to the government under Obama, they were just ignoring him, saying, "You're idiots. You shouldn't have a voice." And do you know what they did? They voted for Trump. Surprise, surprise. Lucky Leo, thank you for your super chat, saying 2CTV, the police to be. I don't think he's an e-beggar. What? Is there a misspelling or am I just crazy? Am I the one with the IQ of peanuts? What's going on? All right. Cindy says, Donald Trump has just opened up his press assemblies to all reporters, independent podcasters, and anyone who applies for an invite. Our government wants to crush anyone but the mainstream media. Our government. Oh, I think Cindy is from Britain. It's very confusing. I thought Cindy was American. She said that our government, so I assume that means Trump's government. But I think Cindy is British, as in Starmer's government wants to crush it. Yeah, of course. And 2CTV, obviously, we now have access to the White House, which is good. We're going to have a White House correspondent, which we're just going through the paperwork. Well, we got the approval, so we just have the person. We're making the official announcement within the next week. And that person will be starting soon as 2CTV's White House correspondent. Hopefully, we'll bring you guys more news from Washington, D.C. Now, eBay, I think that means someone cashing in on YouTube. Who would have thought? Oh, is it the people who ask for donations and things like that on YouTube? Let them be. They do what they do. Free society. Yeah, I don't really do that sort of stuff. The police forget that they are there to uphold the law, not make it up as they go along. And normally that is what they do. No, normally, yeah. I mean, I think one thing is for sure is there has to be a proper deep investigation into the whole of the institutions. Unless you have a better government or party in government, you're not going to get that. Cindy says, I am a true original English woman. Brilliant. Yeah, that's a clarification for the comments. Yeah, so, and the problem with this is that for those of you watching, for example, from the US, you might not actually, I mean, most of you are smart anyway, but in case you don't know, there's a massive difference between the US and the UK because we don't change governments, really. We change the political wing of governments, but that's it. So when a new government comes in place, when a new party comes in place, nothing actually changes in terms of the actual governance. Governance doesn't change. So the Prime Minister leaves, say goodbye to the head of civil service who's in charge of everyday operation of government. And then the new Prime Minister comes, shake hands with the same head of civil service. So they don't change. It's not like the White House when everybody gets kicked out and then the new president brings all their people. And then they're able to appoint their own chief of the FBI, CIA, the national intelligence, national security and everything else. We don't do that here. So changes are not easy in the UK unless you change the system itself. Massive reforms. So a new party in government are not able to instantly bring their own people into this place. You're not allowed to bring your people. You can't, even if you, for example, fire the head of civil service, you're not really able to bring in your own person randomly from the outside, from the business world. They have to go through the civil service process, and civil service will recruit them. So nothing actually changes. This is why, I mean, people in Britain who get, I don't know, they get excited saying, it's fine, we'll just vote for this new party, or we just need this new prime minister. It doesn't change anything. It's not because of uniparty. That's how the system works. It's controlled democracy. It's always been like that. We've just been lucky. A few decades ago, we had relatively good people, well-intentioned, at least they were slightly more competent, who were running the show, the whole system. The last few decades, it's been exposing the problem that the system is controlled. You know, you can't really bring your own person to become the head of the Metropolitan Police. You can't change and bring your own person to be the head of MI5 or MI6. You can't do that. So how do you expect actual change when you can't change the people in the system? That's the question for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.